Bria Skonberg, how are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. So, um, so I haven't known you for that long. We performed together with the Columbus Jazz Orchestra, and when was that? That was in February.
Yeah, the third weekend of February, which feels like another lifetime at this point. You know,
Goodness,
not even 2 months ago, but oh my gosh, how things have changed.
yeah, it's what a difference a day makes, right?
Yeah.
Um, so, uh, um, so tell us about yourself. Where are you from, and where'd you grow up, and what was your childhood like?
Sure. So I grew up in British Columbia, Canada, and I know all things considered a great upbringing. My parents are public school teachers. I have an older brother, older sister, and we were all encouraged to play instruments and play sports and just get involved in many different ways. So I feel like everything was pretty positive, and I just remember being busy a lot, whether it was going to support my siblings or, running around town trying to get into different things. Uh, I started playing music at about the age of 7 on the piano. I think I was most inspired by my grandma who would play. She played by ear and she would accompany my brother. So my brother actually played old time fiddle music, which is part of being in Canada, there's this whole kind of like Irish Celtic streamline of music that goes throughout the country. So I grew up, I think my first experiences with live music were really going to these fiddle competitions with this old kind of country style music. And I wanted to get involved. So I learned how to play the piano for a couple of years. And then when it came time to pick instruments for basically the school band, they pegged me as a trombone player. I don't know if I had like a lot of air or long arms or what it was about. I mean, I was maybe 10 years old at the time. But my dad, who had played trumpet back in high school, he said, you want to play the melody, you want to be the lead in the band. And ultimately, I think we owned a trumpet, so that's probably why
Right.
he steered me in that direction after seeing my older siblings, paying for other instruments. So I think, trumpet stuff. But I loved it. I loved the different sounds I could get on the instrument, obviously, and the camaraderie and the band sections. And that was basically it. Just going. I'm proud again. Product of public school band programs, good teachers, kind of crazy along the way. Not professionals, but people with a real spirit and a real heart for getting young students interested and motivated in the music that they're playing.
So, why did you choose music as a career? What is it about music that was such a drawing force?
Wow. Well, there were a few different steps in getting there. Like I said, I was involved in a lot of different things all the way through high school. I played sports, soccer, and volleyball ended up being my big ones. I was in leadership on student council, organizing separate events, different sort of things. I was on a drama improv team, kind of comedy type things too. So there was a performance aspect of what I like to do. There was a teamwork aspect of all the things that I like to do. And I mean, also academics. But there was one teacher, one counselor at my school in particular that said, I think this is what you're really excelling in. Why don't you try out for some colleges? And that ultimately is, just pushed me in that direction. And I got in. I decided I went to post secondary in Vancouver, in British Columbia. Again, that's about 90 miles east of where, 90 miles west of where I grew up. So that was a big move for me at the time. I don't know if you had this experience, but I think I was already through my first year of university or college when I was still trying to decide, when did you decide that you would make it a career? And in some ways, you kind of have to kind of keep renegotiating that contract with yourself over time to decide that you want to kind of continue with it. But different opportunities kept coming. I liked all that to say, all the things that I was involved with, the leadership activities, the sports, I think bubbled into this entrepreneurial skill set, which is necessary when you want to become a full time freelance musician. And so, as I was getting my degree in music, I was also working with bands outside of school and getting a bit of a taste for, okay, I can seek out opportunities, do the hustle a little bit, try to get stuff for my band, emailing festivals and venues and looking for opportunities. And I think I always kind of got a kick out of that, as well as the idea of bringing people together, like bands and audiences, and creating a really fun environment, something fresh every time. I like that about it. I've always sort of liked the production side of things, and also I think of it as puzzles. You're always these different puzzles that you have to put together in order to get people together at the same time. So
You know, I always know I wanted to be a musician from really early, but it wasn't until I got to college, and maybe my third year in college, um, that teaching became something that I really wanted to do. Um, when I was a kid, uh, I think I started teaching lessons when I was 13 or 14 or something.
really, wow.
And I had some students that were just terrible students. And it didn't, it was like disrespectful to me. Like, all I wanted to do was practice and play music, and it was serious. And so when students weren't following through, they weren't practicing, they weren't doing what they should be doing, it just seemed so disrespectful. And
How old
I,
were you? Sorry, dude.
well, I had some students that were about my age or a little bit younger, and I had some students that were a little older than me. Um, and now, granted, all of the students, uh, they weren't all the same with respect to the level of disrespect, of my perceived disrespect. Some of them, they were actually practicing and they were getting better, and then some of them were just, and it hurt my feelings, you know, and so I just decided then that teaching was not something that I wanted to do. And I was like, I don't want to teach teaching. This is terrible. Like, why would anybody want to do this? This is terrible. This is just not for me. But what happened is over my life, I kept gravitating towards teaching. Maybe it wasn't music, but it was leading Bible studies or whatever it was. It was kind of, I found myself in the same role, and it took one of my best friends from when I was in college to talk to me and say, "Hey, man, I know you keep saying that you're not a teacher and you don't want to be a teacher, but you're a teacher."
I come up with questions, man.
So at that point, I really started thinking about it more, and it dawned on me that, you know what, nobody wants, nobody likes students that don't practice. There's no teacher that would like that. I mean,
Yeah,
and it actually may be a sign that teaching is something that you should be involved in if it's frustrating to you when students don't do it, because it'll cause you to think of different ways to keep them engaged, you know.
right.
So, and also I didn't really want to go to college.
No.
Uh, I finished my high schooling, and I was like, uh, let's just see what this is about. So I practiced all day, and I lived with my parents. And then after that year, I was like, well, maybe I should just go to junior college. So I went to junior college for a year, and then I transferred into a 4-year school, and I finished that degree, and I changed my degree like 3 times.
Really?
And they
What
were
did you do?
well, well, it was all they were all music degrees, but it was like I started as a jazz studies performance major,
Mhm.
and then I was like, I mean, I had been recording and composing from pretty young, so I was like, I don't know if that's exactly what I want to do. So let me do saxophone performance. And then I was like, but that's going to take longer. And then I ended up doing a Bachelor of Arts.
Okay.
Um, and so I finished my Bachelor of Arts, and I was like, okay, I'm never going back to school again. And in the fall, I ended up back in school for a master's degree immediate. So I went straight through to finish my master's.
No kidding.
And I don't know. I guess I'm a glutton for punishment, and I I can follow directions, but I get I'm easily distracted. Like you know, when something is being taught, I'm in my head thinking of all these other ways that I can use that information,
Right.
except for the way that they want me to do it.
Not kidding. No, no, no. Don't go. You keep, not yet, grasshopper. You have to. The stepping stones will get you there. But you must. I mean, your teachers must have loved you for that, though. I mean, you're. It sounds like you resisted teaching because the other. You know, you wanted the students to have the same priorities, the same passion, the same take it seriously like you did, but from such a young age. I like that's. I think that can burn out a lot of teachers along the way. Once you know you can't, yeah, you know, if you just give up that those students aren't going to care as much necessarily. But you just said that actually is another level of improvising. How do I make you care about this? What can I do? Like, how can I troubleshoot this? That's why I love, yeah, doing like workshops and clinics now. It's just another level of improvising, you know, and puzzles again. It's like you find a problem, fine. Let's find solutions. Keep digging through in that kind of way.
So in addition to being a terrific trumpet player and singer, you're also a composer.
Mm.
So talk songwriter. Can you talk about your process and talk about maybe some of your influences?
Sure, sure. Well, so I have written a lot of material now. I think I've published about 35 or 40 songs. A lot of them are some of them are instrumental, a lot of them have lyrics as well. And to be honest, it took me a long time to not just find my voice, but to find the confidence to put that side of me out there. I think you know, I focused a lot through my early years and even through college on studying the repertoire, the traditional jazz repertoire, the whole, you know, gamut of, you know, music and masters and everybody that came before, which is a very important part of it. But I think underlying all that is I was just too shy to do a lot of, to put a lot of original compositions out. And the things that started to really open me up to that was one mentor I had in Vancouver. His name was Paul Airy. He wasn't didn't have anything to do with the university or this music program I went to. He owned a music production studio in town, or like they did voiceover work and stuff too. And we ended up just getting together, and he would write jingles for some things, and it seemed like there was less pressure on it because it wasn't anything to do with the jazz degree program I had just come out of. And we would just get together and kind of make some music. He eventually produced my first record. And what was interesting about that process was, you know, after several years of studying, and I was a jazz trumpet performance major, after getting out of a music program where basically you can go like this, I've got my keyboard, you can, you know, that sounds good. You know, you don't even know anymore. Your ears have been just so saturated with so much music and sounds and harmonies. When I finally got sat down at the keyboard and wanted to write, the first thing that came out was like a 60s doo-wop song, you know, and the second thing that came out was like a Jamiroquai funk disco beat. It was just, I thought that was interesting. And that is how I write. When I say it came out, I just mean that like I clear space, as much space as I can mentally, physically, and wait and see what comes out, what needs to come out at that time. And so it just was funny to me that like the stuff that really kind of wanted to surface was just, you know, easygoing, good feeling type stuff, maybe things that were nostalgic because my parents were baby boomers and they were jukebox hits, kind of listen to that sort of stuff. So some of the first songs that I really wrote and shared openly were in those sort of styles. And then I found a group, a couple of guys in the Pacific Northwest, Solomon Douglas, Pete Peterson, just guys that were in swing band sort of scenes. And we started, yeah, sharing some swing tunes, some ideas. I would play their songs and they'd ask my thoughts on things, and kind of got that process started in a way that just felt organic and comfortable for me. And once I, you know, that was just a really interesting and it still continues to be an interesting process about figuring out who you are. You know, what are your stories? What are all the sounds? What are the things that are embedded in your musical mind? And I continue to write in that same way. I think starting on the piano is the best. For those of you who aren't musicians, you know, trumpet is a single note instrument, voice is a single note instrument. It helps when you can outline harmony. Obviously, play more than one note and accompany yourself and figure some things out. Uh, so, so yeah, I just started to get into it. And what's interesting about writing songs, I think, is that it's it started to help me figure out not just what I wanted to do, but what I didn't want to do. Which at that point,
Mm.
at that time, I lived in Vancouver, and I had gotten pretty established of playing standards, gigs, different places, and singing and playing and doing kind of, you know, nice, easy but background type stuff. And I started to get more inspired by the things that I was writing because it resonated within me. They were just stories, feelings, and so I started to have a harder time, I think, playing songs that I didn't have an emotional connection to. Interesting enough. so so I've been branching out. I think having been a band leader for so long, that's where I really started to kind of use as my lab space too, and say, okay, I'm going to do this existing repertoire, some cover material, but also start to work in more of my original songs and see what happens and see what comes back. And something that's been really rewarding about that is just seeing how what other people hear and how like-minded people will gravitate back to having had those experiences or feeling some of those things.
Uh, are there some songwriters that you study, like some that you really um I don't know, you resonate with, you listen to their songs and you sense a, you know, kindred spirit or something.
Mm-hmm. You know, somebody in the jazz realm, I really love Cole Porter. You know,
Mm.
I've always loved Cole Porter, and I think that's because his tunes they morph in and out of minor and major in a really
Yeah.
interesting way. You know, they have generally like standard forms, if not elongated, like ABAs, maybe a tag here and a structure. Like there's always just a little, there's always something a little special and interesting to them. And as a lyricist, same sort of thing. He just pulls things around. Like I was in just one of those things. You know, a trip to the moon on gossamer wings. It's like just a line that's like it brings out this visual of like, you know, you're flying, you're going to the moon, and there's these airy light wings. I mean, what other song has the word gossamer in it? Which
Right.
no any, you know. So it's clever. You know, I like things that are kind of that are approachable but have some nice little kind of clever details to them.
Um, so, uh, so you know, I was asking you about maybe some influences on your composing and songwriting. What about on your trumpet playing? Who did you really dig into, and who are you checking out now?
Mm-hmm. Oh, the list. Well, I tend to put, you know, I put Louis Armstrong at the top of the pyramid. He's kind of the untouchable god for me. I was just really lucky to be exposed to his music at a young age, right from 14, 15 years old. My high school had a combo that focused on traditional jazz. And so we had these transcriptions of things like Potato Head Blues, Cornet Chop Suey. I didn't mention before, but I never had a private lessons teacher. I didn't have a private teacher on the trumpet, which it just wasn't kind of something that happened in my community. Every kid was in band, but nobody actually took, you know, serious lessons. So that being said, his music was so challenging and in many ways you know, had ornamentation much like classical studies or etudes and things that challenged me in a way that helped me get together a lot of chops. So and as I you know gotten deeper into this musical pursuit, Lewis, you know, as a trumpet player, as a communicator of song, and just as a human being, you know, a straight up humanitarian, he was really kind to everybody. all across the board. So I looked up to him for a long time. And then beyond that, then it goes a lot of interesting directions. I think the discs that my high school band director gave me were a mixture of Nicholas Payton, like the Gumbo Nouveau stuff,
Mm.
again, kind of the old stuff, so great. Jim Cullum, who was a traditionalist that lived in San Antonio and ran the Riverwalk Jazz program for a long time. Henny Ball, which is this English British trad thing. Those are just the three that I remember. He did like Midnight in Moscow, that kind of stuff. Um, and then I found I've had a mentor named Simon Stribling, an Australian cornetist in BC, and he hit me to like all the swing players that we'll consider like kind of hot swing music through the bebop area, but just had like some more melodicism to their playing. So Roy Eldridge, anybody that came out of Roy Eldridge at the same time, he was kind of the contemporary. Charlie Shavers, I'm a big fan of. He's an incredible player. He played with the John Kirby Sextet. Other guys around that time. Red Allen is a really great player. Those are the older cats. Move ahead a little bit. Clifford Brown, of course. Clark Terry, magical. And a little bit later, Lee Morgan, of course, Miles Davis. And as a study, I think it's obvious. I've always liked players that play with some punch, which Miles did, but he was more of a painter in many ways too, like just textures and a different study. The people that came after the people of the swing era, Warren Vacher has been one of my mentors for a long time. He learned a lot from Ruby Braff, John Eric Kelso. These are people, this is kind of like, that jazz tree or that music tree that spins off in a lot of different directions. These are kind of the guys that came out of the early swing stuff in a big way. And contemporaries, I think, the Wynton Marsalis septet, especially live at the Village Vanguard, that whole disc set had a big impact on me. I think I'm still realizing it. Like everything I hear that came from that band just encompasses a century of music in a big, beautiful way. That really had a large impact on me. I think, the quintet, some of my favorite players now, I like Etienne Charles a lot. I think he's got a real fantastic take and flavor, just attitude. And of course, other people. Sean Jones, Ingrid Jensen, I think is one of the most unique artists of our time. Marquis Hill, Theo Croker. There are many.
Yeah. How about as a singer?
Byron Stripling.
Oh yeah, right. How about as a singer? Who
Influences?
Influences. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think a lot of my early influences came from listening to big band recordings. Again, just going through the school programs, like I guess Peggy Lee and Joe Stafford, people that had recorded with big bands back in the day. Of course, name the top few. Anybody, Ella Fitzgerald, anything, Billie Holiday, Sarah Vaughan, I really dig the depth of her voice. Of course, Sarah Vaughan and Clifford Brown is a phenomenal album. I think the standout vocalist for me, though, something I've always loved is Anita O'Day. Mm-hmm. And I first saw her perform as part of that Jazz on a Summer's Day. Honestly, it was part of the Ken Burns Jazz series. Like most younger people were like, okay, we come to it that way. But the Jazz on a Summer's Day, she just had this like big hat, and she was just there to perform. It was a big comeback moment for her, actually, after falling off the rails a couple times. But she performed this amazing version of Sweet Georgia Brown and Tea for Two. And Tea for Two, it's like she sings it 3 times, the melody through 3 times, never repeating herself, always these really intricate things. And as a horn player, I just think she's the coolest. So I've enjoyed listening to a lot of her music. She does a lot of Cole Porter. She picks a lot of interesting songs. She played with what's his name, the Gene Krupa Orchestra, and after reading her autobiography, I thought she was, she's such a character. She's like a pistol because her life was tumultuous and self-inflicted in many ways. She was a junkie. She was this, but like the first paragraph, she just says, that's just how it went down. And she owns her story from the get go. So I think that's pretty cool.
So, so who have you played with? What projects have you worked on, and what have been some of your favorite experiences?
Sure. Well, I moved to New York in 2010, and just a lot of amazing things have happened in the last decade. Every now and then I have to write myself an email that says, that happened, just so I don't forget. But some extremely memorable ones. In the first about 6 months into moving here, I had the opportunity to play in Nicholas Payton's television studio orchestra, he called it, which had five trumpets. It was just awesome. Frank Green and Freddie Hendrick. Like, it was a chance for me to really meet some amazing people in the scene, be part of a project that to me was just so cool. It was the first time I'd ever played with a band with a percussionist, like a real percussionist. Roland Guerrero was playing congos and such, and Nicholas. It was like R&B meets big band. I had never really experienced something like that. It was really cool. Similarly, to be under the wings of Wycliffe Gordon a couple times has been just awesome. He's I just like I say under the wings because they're these people that have these big wing. They're just angels, and they help elevate you up in a big way. Wycliffe had this one project called Within Our Gates, where he scored the music to the first African American filmmaker, I believe 1918, one that was published, and uh, it was an amazing experience and really really powerful. You can find that online. Anybody Within Our Gates, Wycliffe Gordon. So I got to play that and record on that. Um, Other things in the city, man, lots of things. Let's think. I mean, I play with the Louis Armstrong Band every Wednesday at Birdland, and that's actually just such a treat. I have a good relationship with Louis' house in Queens. If anybody doesn't know, his house that he lived in with his wife Lucille has been turned into a museum, but not stale at all. Like, you can go through and have tours, and they have a performance series in the backyard. So I got to play in Louis' backyard, which is very inspiring. Uh, you let's see. I have shared the stage with things that are coming to mind. On Town Hall, I've been part of the Town Hall ensemble, where led by Stephen Bernstein, and he's just a New York downtown crazy cat, and that has ended up backing up some really interesting people from I don't know Steve Buscemi to Triumph the Insult Comic. That was interesting. Oh, I sang the national anthem at a New York Rangers game. That was pretty crazy. Things like, yeah, John Batiste, played with him a couple times. Uh, as far as regular partnerships, some of the highlights, I think, I've been collaborating a little bit with this quote unquote gypsy jazz guitarist, Stefan Rembel, who's very special. Uh, yeah, I know I'm going to think of a bunch of things. The name drop game, I'm not so good at all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to do the name dropping thing very much myself. Um, I also I don't really I don't really like taking pictures with people that I've played with, um, and I've had to learn how to do that and be okay with it. Um, it's just I don't know. I'm an introvert for one,
Sure.
and you said something about being shy, and I mean I'm totally shy, and I basically would just stay to myself if I could. Um,
He's a trained extrovert.
right, right. So I had to learn how to do that, but an introvert can never actually become an extrovert. I found out because when I do the things that an extrovert does, I require like 24 hours of sleep.
Before or after?
After.
After.
It's so taxing. My wife is an extrovert, and So she thrives in situations where she doesn't know anybody, and it could be a big conference, and you have to small talk for like long periods of time, and try to, hey, I need your attention over here. Uh, it's just uh, I can't do that for very long.
Yeah, helps when you've like if you're formed and there's context and you're like, okay, now I have something in common with these people.
Yes, yes.
Okay, fine. But as far as the cold call, when someone who are you and what are you about? You're like, oh shoot.
Well, it's like the small talk thing to me is like, um, I mean, I can't talk to you very long before, like, okay, how about the weather? Okay, I can talk about that for a very short period of time before I want to start talking about the science of weather and
Yeah.
like what causes these different weather patterns, and the fact that the folks that are telling us what the weather's supposed to be are not often correct. you know
Right.
so I want to get into that kind of stuff, and that just goes too deep too fast, and so so I have to, like, I'm constantly like trying to slow down, slow down, slow down, and that's exhausting. um,
Hmm. You're
but but the social media is it's a big part of what it is that we do, letting people know what it is that we do, and especially what's going on right now in the world with the quarantine, um, and you see a lot of artists doing like multicam videos, and maybe putting up old pictures of themselves when we were allowed to play in front of people,
yeah.
um, and those kind of things. And I've noticed that you've been pretty active on social media. Are there is there stuff in particular that you want to punch or talk about a little bit?
I will say that this, experience now a month in the quarantine, like it's enabled me to focus on that in a way that I kind of always, I think, wanted to, but never had the time because of, like us, we're always on the run. And you think, okay, I have to, do I post a picture or do I post, I have to promote something or do I have to this, that, like all of a sudden now I have this time to just kind of make content that interests me in a different sort of way. Like the silver lining has been I've been like kind of collaborating with different people that I haven't been able to be in touch with as much as I ever thought. I do a bunch of, yeah, I'm doing those multi videos, and also, I want to put out good quality stuff, but I also want to put out a lot of stuff. So I'm just less, I'm okay with it kind of just being light or not perfect all the time too. Which I think is, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to make sure people know that you're, I don't know, you're approachable, or that we're all just working through it together. I want to share things that interest me, but it might interest you too. Uh, so I've just been kind of dreaming up some different either collaborations with people that I might again tap into my inner extrovert and reach out to and see if they want to do some things. uh, and oh yeah, I've been asked to be part of like some festival kind of things that I don't know if they're not publicized yet, but keep in touch on that. I'm learning. I have to figure out how to do a 20 or 30-minute set by myself. That's an interesting challenge, actually, because like I said, voice is one instrument, trumpet is one instrument, or one note instrument. So how do I make an engaging 20 to 30-minute set out of basically what I've considered my hobbies for the last 20 years? I'm doing Facebook live chats every Wednesday and Sunday, and that's been really fun. Again, low pressure. I'm people have requests. I play through them if I know them. Sometimes I play through them if I don't know them very well. I sing songs. I try to get people to sing along even if I can't hear them. It's and people are checking in from all over the world today. It was like everywhere from Italy to Portugal to Moscow to British Columbia to upstate New York. It's so cool. It's actually really wonderful. And the fact that we can bring people together is so beautiful. And everybody, it's a it's a strange thing to be isolated in this way. It can be very lonely. And so to be able to provide some little bit of sunshine to somebody's day, I think helps me deal with my own kind of, weird feelings about it all.
So I said that we met playing with the Columbus Jazz Orchestra, and outside of hearing you play and immediately knowing that I was going to enjoy that concert because you sounded great, and I really dug the music. But I'll tell you when I knew I really liked you as a person was when I had a solo on something, and you I was finishing up eating between the dress rehearsal and the in the performance, and I stepped out in the hall, and you said, hey, and I just thought about the mic stand, and I want to make sure that yeah, I didn't think that maybe you wanted to boom on it, and let me go take care of that for you, and I'll go up and talk to whoever. I just thought that was it was unusual. It's not usual that a guest artist would be that concerned about or interested in something for someone else's solo, you know and
Sure.
so I really appreciate that. And the other thing, if I didn't already know, was I invited you to come to church to witness a Love Supreme, and we did the whole suite, and and I think I told you that it was going to end about an hour earlier than it did. Uh, but it's a black church. I think I should have warned you that about that first. But it kind of went past the time. But you stuck out. You hung out. You were sitting there with my wife and stuff. So um, that kind of stuff to me, that goes further than just someone that can play well and that can sing well. Because there's a lot of people that can play, but there's not as many people, I think, that are really good people that can play. And I think it comes out through the music. I think you can generally tell how sincere someone is by the art that they create. So,
Uh, well,
so
thank you so much. Well, first of all, your flute solo on that song was "You'd Be So Nice to Come Home To," and that was so great. That was one of my favorite parts of the whole concert. It was just a cool texture at that point. And yeah, I think I I try to be as in tune as possible to what the needs of my band members are, because you want to set them up for success. I think once I know that everybody's cool, then I can really relax and get into the music in the right way. I want to make sure everybody's kind of got what they need. So I'm glad that worked out. And I mean, yeah, and getting to come to the church was another highlight of that whole week. I was so honored that you invited me to come, and could trust that I would be comfortable in a different situation. And I just I loved it. The music was immense. It was very uplifting and inspiring. And it's just as us musicians, we travel from place to place, and we don't get to see a lot of things. And through the school activities and the rehearsals and everything, I didn't get to see as much as Columbus as I would like and hope to. So that was it just adds so much more color to the whole experience, and like in a big beautiful way. So it was great. Your wife is so lovely, your son is gorgeous, and everybody was so nice. And we made it, to dress. We made it back for the gig in time, so there we go.
and something else.
Huh? Yay.
So this is my son's P trumpet, and I sent you a picture of him playing this trumpet.
Yeah.
And at the end of the concert series, I had come up because I thought that something that you were selling autographed copies of might be a good compliment to
Always.
this. but you were sold out. And so when you got back, you sent me. Yeah, you sent me that. And my son, he's more of a poser than anything these times. He's 6. Uh, but he he's always grabbing for this, and I know that's going to be part of what he gravitates towards.
Hey man, whatever inspires young horn players to get together. So those of you who can't see that, I do. I sell plumbing equipment because you never know, and you just might need a sink plunger or who knows what. Yeah, I think it's a fun and silly way, and also they're durable. These days with recordings not always being what everybody wants to take home with them. I think it's good to have a couple different options.
Oh. Yeah, so you had a few things. I know that you have to try to find ways. My dad always says, you make hay when the sun shines. And so if you're on the stage and people are looking at you, and so you got to have your products. You got to be willing to promote the products, and you got to have a variety of things because you're trying to, and all that stuff. But I have to say that is one of the more unusual things that I've seen an artist do. And you sold out of them. I mean, they were totally gone. It was like one of the more popular things you brought with you.
That's just it. People don't even know if they need them or not, but I'll just make them believe. Everybody knows a trumpet player. Come on.
Well, it's a great color. Of course, blue. That's my favorite color too. That was another reason that was attractive to me.
Yeah, I'm just playing the blues, and I order those in bulk. There's one company in the middle of the country that's like, who's this girl who needs like 100 plungers all the time? PSA loves it too. Yeah.
So, okay. So, all of us have more time to practice right now. But it is not usual, at least in, I'm the more administrative responsibilities, as I get promoted in my career, as an academic, and being a minister of music at a church, and being a dad and a husband and all this stuff, and it starts to sort of squeeze in on practice time, and so it becomes more and more important for me to be very specific about what it is that I'm practicing. And I'm still trying to climb this big mountain, right? I'm still trying to improve and trying to get better, and I don't want to just tread water, okay, at least if I'm not losing any chops, I'm okay. I'm still trying to improve. But that's it's a challenging problem to try to solve. What kind of things do you practice? What do you practice? Not what things did you practice to get where you are now, but rather what things are you working on right now, that you're,
Well, I just got this new book about 2 weeks ago. It's called How to Improvise Over Chord Changes. Written by Dr. Sean Wallace. I got it off of Amazon for a pretty good deal. So I'm checking that out these days.
Yeah, I'm paying you under the table right now. See, that's the money under the table.
I'll tell you what my regular thing is. But the 3 books that I bought, as soon as it looked like, okay, we're not getting out of the woods out of this for a while, is I got your book, and I got finally got a book of Thelonious Monk, just chart all of his material. I wanted a physical book that I can read through on the piano, and I finally bought the Charlie Parker Omni book.
Okay, yeah.
I haven't owned, so that I was like, all right, I'll work my harmony, I'll work on my facility, my dexterity, and I'll get some new ideas and learn what other people are teaching along the way for me. So those are the things those are my quarantine friends. But you know what, I think I finally come up with a method for myself based off of like as we do based off of things that my teachers have taught me. Um, Something that attacks that can change, but the fundamental that addresses the fundamentals of trumpet playing all the time. So I have like so there's air, embouchure, tongue slash articulation, flexibilities, and dexterity, and I treat that as a pyramid. And so I come back to each day. I come to each of those things with an exercise that I've worked on previously or a new exercise that I found or created to challenge those areas of my playing that have weakness. So I think the thing that has been good for me since I have been kind of practicing regularly every day is to hone in on what my method is to really isolate and address the weaknesses in my playing and focus on it. And just as far as maintenance. So I'm practicing as far as what I practice. I mean, in the embouchure category, I do Schlossberg stuff, just slurs up and down, going through the tubes. This is going to be important. Anybody who's not a trumpet player, just zone out for like the next 5 minutes. So take the lead pipe up, go through that. I'm trying to better understand how the trumpet actually works and how it reacts to airflow, thinking about volume versus velocity and speed, and practicing with not as much volume, but really kind of being compression, thinking about compression and how to work it through this brass instrument. Scott Belk has an incredible book of flexibilities for just training your tongue, basically.
I'm interviewing him next week.
Really? Yeah, I'm a fan. Tell him he's funny, and his book's hilarious. It's like all the titles of the exercises are very snarky, good trumpet kind of humor. It's good. Trumpet players, we have a reputation of having big egos, but the instrument will keep you humble if you keep practicing. It'll remind you who's boss every time. I think my Clark studies and stuff. So I think that's what I do technically. I have some etudes, just basically Charliers and stuff that I work on. Transcribing. The last one I did was a Clark Terry solo. I'm working on. I have a Winton one pulled aside. I haven't actually done a Winton one in a long time, so I'm working on some transcriptions. That's a good piece of it. Honestly, today was a day where I finally got so bummed out that I haven't played with anybody in a month. Like, I think, we work on exercises and we get through these, and I've been doing that for weeks. But today I was just like, I just really wanted to play with other people. So I put on these old Eddie Condon recordings and just jammed. I just jammed with some bands for a little while, listening to them recording wise. I think I really needed that. It's important, I think, once you do all of the technical studies and your licks and your the different things that you're working on, but just leave some time to play. And the backing tracks with iReal Pro and Aerosols don't always do it for me. So I think I'm going to make sure that I have an extra at least 20 minutes or something of just jamming along with songs.
Do you ever use the program Band in a Box?
I haven't, but I like the iReal Pro book. It's similar, right? Just that.
So iReal Pro came after Band in a Box, and of iReal Pro is, I think, intended to be sort of a really scaled down, kind of affordable version of Band in a Box. But what Band in a Box is, it's real players that they have recorded, a dozen passes over a particular kind of chord progression, and then the computer juggles, and then sends it out. So what you're hearing, it's dynamically created, and it's different every time, but it's real players that are playing.
Okay.
And it's still you still hear the machine's tendencies, and it's still lacking human quality in a sense, but it's like it steps closer to like playing with a recording, than like playing iReal Pro or something.
Sure. Yeah, that's good. That's good to know.
but it's still. I mean, yeah, I'm in the same boat. I wanna play with people now. Fortunately, the last 2 weekends, um, I recorded online services, that church services, for a big church in Columbus on a Friday, and then they aired those on Saturday and Sunday. While meanwhile I was recording I was playing a live service, uh, limited people there, just like a praise and worship team and the band and the minister basically, and then some people to run the lights and the sound and stuff. And so I was able to do that. And honestly, I don't know where I would be in my headspace if I didn't at least have that. Um,
Yeah.
um, I've been able to do some of those collaborations with like multicam kind of stuff. One of them came out. Chris Johnson, who's a great trumpet player, played with um, the Basie band, and he taught at Ohio State and taught at University of Utah, and now he's back in Detroit. But he did one. It's his arrangement on Yes or No.
Mhm.
It's a big band thing, and I'll
Cool.
make sure I'll make sure I send it to you.
Sure.
Um, I did some of that stuff, but there's really nothing like playing with people and playing
I
for an audience.
Yeah, I found those, the layering stuff is so challenging. It's actually really good for me, obviously the like you have to be precise
Mhm.
singing and playing. It's been a real challenge. It takes me forever to learn how to do them. But also like at the end of the day, after staring at screens and working with screens and blah blah blah, it's like, oh, I can't look at them anymore. You just want to have that organic connection. You just want to go around and play with people. So we'll just keep looking forward to that moment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess May 1st is the new date, but it's looking like that's probably going to get pushed out again.
I don't believe it. I mean, I'm not, I like, I'm a positive person. I think we all know that. But and I'm in New York, everybody. So, it's the extremes of extremes. But, even it'll be 5 people at a time. It'll be 10 people at a time. It'll be 20. It's going to take months to get back to a place where you can actually have even 50 people in a room at one time. But playing with other people will be, hopefully, do a lot of street busking. You see.
So, future, future goals,
Yeah.
unfinished projects, and maybe you can add in some. We're all quarantined right now, and maybe this is a good time to do some introspection, um, maybe personal growth.
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, again, things have slowed down so you can focus on different things. Something I've been focusing on is cleaning up the charts of my original songs and making sure everything's copywritten, making sure the recordings that I have, that everything is, for you musicians out there, you really have to make sure all your music is registered with all the right places, with all the right codes, so that the funds that you are owed make it back to you. So, I'm just kind of doing a lot of house cleaning on all my digital, like royalty kind of streams that can come in. I've been working on that. Again, publishing maybe even like a book of my songs would be an interesting long-term project. Get it done. This gone book. uh, and being able to have then other people can play them if they want. Obviously, uh, I'm looking even farther down the line. I'm better developing my symphony show. I did a concert earlier this year with the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra. I had some charts written, but that's something that I'd like to do more of in the coming years. So just kind of strategizing about that. Um, Obviously, picking up different students along the way. I have some online teaching available. I maybe got about three people a week right now that I meet with, and we go over some things. That's that's it. There's some other life plans, but we'll see what happens. Not ready to divulge all those things just yet.
That's all right. That's all right.
but
Um,
far as my own growth, I'm growing in many ways. I've been cooking a lot. I have an Instapot now, which means that everything is just like a big bunch of food. And I like food like I like my music. I like to put a bunch of things in the pot and simmer together. And I think it'll taste good, but you don't really know until you open it up and hear it, and listen to it, and eat it.
You posted a picture. Uh, uh, so what was it? It was a celery or something. You had cut it open and then had a big smiley face.
Mm. Oh, it was a green pepper.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
That was a total coincidence. If I was like go on my Instagram feed, I opened up a green pepper and the little white spot. It was just a little smiley face smiling at me, which is so cute. And I think it was saying, "Don't eat me," but I ate it anyway. I know it's so cute. I love yeah. I really enjoy cooking. Cooking is like in cooking shows. I think are something that I like to shut my brain off to. Or like it's not the best thing, but I'll if I was at the gym, I'd watch watch food shows while you're exercising, trying to burn calories. Um, so, but that's fun to me.
I'll tell you. You just mentioned the gym. Uh, I'll tell you. I mean, there are lots of things that I miss, um, but the gym might be at the top of the list of the things that I miss. Um, I've got gym buddies, and we have a certain camaraderie, so that's been put on hold. And then um, I've been putting these videos up, uh, on the road to a 430-pound bench press,
Oh, amazing.
and so obviously all of that is
Oh,
I'm not on the road to that right now.
God.
Push-ups, push-ups uh, don't do it quite. But I'm saying that to say, I'm a health and a fitness advocate, and something that I talk to my students about, and something my dad insisted that we all of his kids, we all did set-ups and push-ups before we went to bed every night, and it was something that stuck with me. And I didn't realize then. I started playing when I was really young. I started playing saxophone when I was 6, and the your diaphragm is attached to you know your abdominal muscles on the inside, right? So to the extent that you have strong abdominal muscles, and lower back, hip flexors, and all that stuff is associated and directly related to the diaphragm. And so there's, I think, a direct connection between um, I think physical fitness and playing a horn.
100%. Yep. I definitely think so. I say I have three T's that I try to hit every day for balance, even when I'm on the road. And like one is trumpet, basically get the horn on your face. Two is trust, reaching out to somebody you love and fostering relationships. And three is training, which just stands for getting some sort of physical activity. Like I think to stay balanced mentally, physically, all of the above, everything benefits when you can get like even some sort of exercise, some sort of physical activity at least every day. And I buy that. I was thinking actually about that today too in practice because you know when you practice at home, that's like doing all the kind of like weightlifting, toning, all that sort of stuff. And whereas gigs and playing is where you get the endurance, like from cardio, which is what I do. I'm
Mm-hmm.
used to. When I moved to New York, I started to run. Became a runner because my best friend was a runner. I had time and it was free. Basically, those are the things I do. And I don't run. I mean, maybe like I could do maybe 3-4 miles every day or something, just like 40 minutes, some sort of exercise. And I'm doing that a little bit now, but what I'm losing in my playing is definitely the endurance of like really playing a gig with other people, that sort of
Mm-hmm.
feel. But I am toning up other areas of my playing a lot more. Articulation is like triceps, whether you're finally you gotta focus on it, that sort of stuff. So anyway, all that to say that I'm with you. I think, you know, exercise, physical activity is extremely important to whatever your career choice is, and just to help you feel good, sleep better, eliminate stress. And and understand, yeah, the idea like that this is a diaphragm, and again, what is that compression, what is that feeling when you want to get, push the air forward, especially on brass instruments where, that sort of that again, that airspeed, what you can put behind it, the punch you can put behind it starts, it originates there.
So one of the trumpet players in the CJO is Dwight Adams,
Yeah.
and Dwight plays with Stevie, and he's played with a bunch of everybody. And one thing people don't probably know about Dwight, and this was better than 10 years ago, but Dwight was Mr. Michigan. Um, uh, it's an open bodybuilding competition, and so actually, uh, I started training and lifting weights when I was 14. That was before I knew Dwight. But once I moved to Ohio in '04, back to Ohio in '04, Dwight was teaching trumpet at Ohio State. And
Hmm.
so we would train together. And basically the routine that I have is his routine. It's basically I
Ah,
have taken his routine and I've made some tweaks to it. Um, and often when he comes to town to play with the CJO, we'll try to get one in. But I'm saying that because um, also this is a trumpet that was his trumpet. It's a French Besson, and we made a trade, and the trade was I traded him a saxophone uh, for this trumpet, and we haven't started doing it yet. But what we were supposed to do is I'm supposed to give him saxophone lessons, like on Skype or something, and then he's supposed to give me trumpet lessons because he's got kids and I've got Moses, and so I wanted to know enough about trumpet so that I could get Moses going. And I
yeah.
can play a little bit, but you know, uh, I have a long ways to go. And mostly I have the trumpet right here, sitting right beside me to remind me to try to pick it up and play it.
Hmm.
Um, but Dwight is such a physically strong trumpet player.
Mhm.
Um, he can play loud and long time, and he's got so much endurance. You're
Yeah.
talking about that, and that definitely comes from all of the training. I mean,
Yeah.
it definitely. I mean, come on, it definitely that's what it comes from. So,
Yeah, and playing that sort of way without stress, like with
mm,
relieving tension, being mindful of it so that you're not harboring a lot of tension in your body while you're playing. You can't play high and loud and fast if you're like, if everything's tense and stuff too. He's really kind of developed those muscles. Dwight's a phenomenal. I had such a good time hanging out with him too, and of course hearing with him and jamming with him a little bit. You might be interested. Some of the stuff that I work on and that people ask me about when you travel a lot, how do you keep your chops together? And also, I work a lot with adult players that are returning back to the instruments after many years, uh, just for fun or hobbies. And I think that I talk to them a lot about isometric exercises, so things that you can do away from the instrument to help warm up, train, strengthen the muscles that you use, even if you don't have the time to put the horn on your face, or you want to just not have, you can't come back and play for an hour you haven't played in 10 years. It's just silly. It's like trying to bench press 400 pounds when you just don't have to. But things like trumpet lessons are really cool, by the way. They're really nerdy. But something like taking a pencil, putting it between your chops, you know in front of your teeth like that. Hold that up for 30 seconds, and I promise you, these muscles right here will burn.
oh, okay.
That kind of that. So that's like embouchure. Yeah. There you go. If you can, it's better with like a pencil with a rubber eraser if you got. But the idea
Well,
being, yeah,
I'm definitely going to do that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The idea being in front of your teeth, hold it here, and just rely on these corners to
Mm.
hold the thing up. And that's one of the things. I'm the cool person on an airplane. If I'm flying, I'm like trying to do this because I might not get my my warm up practice in. You know, I might not get all the things squared away to start before I get to the gig. So isometric things, that for embouchure, obviously dexterity. We practice these things. Tonguing, you can, you know, take a metronome and working on those sorts of things, but really isolating those different parts of playing, and then working on lining them up at the same, like separately, together, off the instrument as well as with the instrument. You know, those are ways to kind of just keep your muscles intact so that when you get to the horn, you're more prepared to play it. And also kind of mentally prepared too, because I think with trumpet players, we think if we take a day off, everything's going to fall apart. But there are things you can do, even if you're writing emails, or if you can't get up, you can't do something, that you can kind of keep on top of those muscles a little bit.
So, is there anything that you want to promote or punch, or you know, I'm going to put your website in the description to this video.
Sure.
But is there anything that you want to?
You know, the best thing, yeah, my website. If you Google Bria Trumpet, that's the easiest way to find me on all the socials. I do have albums. I put out an album just last fall. It's got a lot of original music on it. It's moody. It's all sorts of good things. I put on an album. I sell plungers. I have socks now that have the name of the album. So I'm selling socks for survival, and those are the things that you can obviously buy. But otherwise, I just hope that I can get out and get back to these cities and meet everybody face to face. I run a jazz camp in New York City. Unfortunately, it would be taking place this April 13th to 20th, but it's not happening this week. But what makes the camp unique is it's for adults, so 18 plus basically, and people can come into the city. They study. We put them in bands. We coach them in ensembles, and it's everybody. You know, last year we had 50 people ages 18 to 85 from 5 different continents, or countries, I should say, 5 different countries, you know, working together using jazz as a way to just kind of learn and come together. And then we'll go out on the town and have a good time supporting many of the stalwarts here in the trad jazz scene and beyond. So that's a really fun time. nyhotjazzcamp.com. Yeah, I'm going to be putting out a music video that was in support of the album in the next couple of weeks. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah, just follow along. It's an adventure. I'm always doing stuff and it's always different. I have a good time. I promise you it will not be a boring ride if you come along with me.
Well, Bria, thank you so much for your time, and I think our audience learned a whole lot from just listening to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's so good to see you, my friend, and it's just so nice to have a conversation.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
All right, be safe, and God bless you and your family.
Thank you, you too.
All right, now.
Bye.